Hey guys, Above here, and welcome to the 2023 PVE Subclass Tier List. The last time we did one of these videos was around King's Fall's release, where we had Saltagrepo on to discuss the best subclasses in Destiny. Now, obviously a ton has changed since then. We've had the addition of Strand into the game, which has significantly shifted the power dynamic of subclasses in Destiny 2, and we've also had major overhauls to the build systems in Destiny, including the removal of elemental wells and things of that nature, as well as just general buffs and nerfs to subclasses across the board that have shifted how these subclasses are ranked in the current PvE tier list today. Remember, this is PvE focused with an emphasis on endgame content, so the better a subclass scales into endgame activities, the higher that subclass will rank overall. Now remember, we all have differing opinions, so if you guys feel differently, I'll leave a link to the tier list down in the description so you guys can make your own. Just remember to keep the discussion civil down in the comments below. Anyways guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the other side. So I'm a Hunter main. You guys know that I love Hunter, even though I play all three. Hunter is my main class. I played it on day one. I think it's either a low S tier subclass or very high A tier subclass. I think it's a very good solo subclass. I don't think it's the best solo subclass. Gathering Storm, one of the best supers in the game. It competes with Blade Barrage in terms of obviously like burst and total damage. The issue is you can't stack multiple of them. Lethal Current, after dodging next melee attack, has increased lunge range, jolts the target, and creates a damaging aftershock. You pair that with Combo Blow, specifically Lethal Current. The Combo Blow times 3, the amount of damage, like, dude, you can run Assassin's Cowl. I mean, I don't know. The amount of damage that the melee does is just insane. Like, Combo Blow plus Lethal Current is just nasty. And it's highly survivable even in like underleveled like solo content. So yeah, overall, I think it's a very, very good subclass. It's good in a team setting, which is like kind of how we're judging a lot of this too, is like, is it good in a fire team? Is it good solo? Is it good in underleveled content? I mean, pretty much everywhere in the game. Like, you could argue Arc Hunter is low S. I think it's low. I think it's a low S tier class personally. You could argue it maybe drops down into like one of the highest A subclasses. I think it's a low S tier subclass. The elemental well changes, I think, hurt Behemoth more than a lot of the other subclasses did. Unlike the other, like in my opinion, like a Revenant super, for example, is far superior to something like Behemoth, because in Behemoth, you're just stuck in the super. It used to be very easy to create elemental wells off of stasis crystals from Behemoth, and now you don't need that. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. So that, honestly, in stasis subclasses as a whole got hurt by the introduction of Strand quite a bit. I don't know, man. It's pretty... There's not a lot of variety, in my opinion, to what you can do with this class. Like, you can do some cool things, but it's definitely taken a hit. To me, this is a lesser version of a Void Titan, where you just have overshields on command whenever you want them. And they added additional damage resistance to the Void Titan overshield, which is absolutely insane. Personally, I feel like Behemoth is C. I think there's way better choices in the game currently than Behemoth Titan. So chat, for those of you who are gassing Berserker up, tell me a couple aspects as to why, because I know there's a bunch of people that I know who are very good players that love Berserker. Suspend is busted, and that's what it does best. That is true. Easy access to Woven Mail, infinite suspend, great damage from super. All right, so Abiant Leap. Dranger's Lash spawns 2 additional projectiles, tracks targets more aggressively, and travels further. Gain Woven Mail when suspending targets. You can abuse this to basically have perma Woven Mail, which is a 60% damage resist on top of tier 10 resilience. Woven Mail and Shackle Grenades are by far the two things that are slept on the most. The Shackle Grenade single-handedly is like one of the most busted abilities in the game, hands down. Like by far. It's kind of crazy that like Bungie was like, yeah, tier 10 resilience at 40% DR is too much. We're going to nerf it. But also we're adding a subclass where enemies can't even fight back. So for me, I think it's an A subclass. It's definitely not S or S plus tier. I think B is too low for literally any subclass that has the ability to suspend as frequently as Berserker does. I think A is, in my opinion, I think that's where it belongs. With how good Will is, you're kind of throwing on Warlock in a raid setting. See, but so I agree with C squared. With how good Will is, you're kind of throwing on a Warlock in a raid setting if you're using anything else. I mean, so that I agree with. It's all graded on a tier, though. That doesn't mean the subclass is ass because another one's insanely overtuned, you know? People are going to be so mad at this, bro. I'm not denying that there are insanely potent builds with this subclass. I just think other subclasses are more useful in more areas than Broodweaver is. It's significantly better than everything else that is in the C or D tier. And I think it's a very, very high B tier subclass. I still think it has a lot of potential, and I think like future fragments will help it a lot. But I don't know, dude. I think there are better options personally in, like, if you're looking at the game as a whole, there's so many niches. I think other subclasses and higher tiers fill more niches than Broodweaver does. So the only reason that the S plus tier exists is literally because of Well of Radiance. I don't think this needs a lot of explanation. I mean, Saltagrepo's sister moment. In 15 minutes, learn how to play an FPS, had never played an FPS before, plugged in the roller, sat in a well, and killed Callus in the legendary campaign, sitting in a Well of Radiance. They made it even better this season, funny enough, is now we have Ember of Resolve. They were like, oh, we've heard Well might be a little overtuned, so you know what we're going to do to the subclass? We're going to add a solar fragment by the name of Ember of Resolve, where when you get Fusion Grenade Final Blows, it heals you. You heal. People who are arguing that the Well of Radiance has been nerfed to be based on resilience, doesn't give the overshield anymore. It still gives additional damage resist on top of tier 10 resilience. And at 100 resil, which pretty much everyone who is familiar with the game is running, because it makes such a significant difference in survivability, your well's never breaking. Let's be real. I literally cannot remember the last time, even under contest, that a well actually broke. The subclass is just insane. So it's the only S plus tier subclass on the entire tier list. All right, chat. What are we saying about Goldie? I think this is one of the most polarizing subclasses on the entire list. Let's see. So we have S plus, we have D, A, we have A, B, B, F, A, D minus. No shot. Trip mines are insanely good. OnPam was doing solo caretaker last season, just using young Ahamkara's spine. Obviously some weapons thrown in there, but a lot of it was just damage rotation just from the subclass, and the ability cycling is insane for sure. I just don't know if it beats Berserker Titan, to be honest. I still think it's an A tier subclass just because of what it can do, like solo DPS. The DPS supers are top tier, and in that role it excels incredibly well. I don't think it's down in B. I don't necessarily think that's fair. I feel like personally it's like a low A subclass. Like it'll end up over here somewhere. Just because I don't think it offers as much versatility. Like, for example, Arc Hunter's super does very high damage, but the neutral game survivability and the synergy and the ad clear and survivability of an Arc Hunter is low-key insane. All right, chat. Invis Hunter. What are we saying? S, S, S plus, S plus, S, 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 S plus, S plus personally. Invis Hunter gained even more value in a team setting now because Divinity has been nerfed. So to free up weapon damage, instead of using Tractor, you just use either a Deadshot Tether or you use a multi-shot tether with Orpheus rigs. How many options we have? You have Graviton Forfeit, enables insane solo stuff. You have 6 Coyote. Works just as well as Omni Oculus. You can do either one of those. You could technically even run Star Eater Scales with Tether, the multi-shot, and it still does really good damage if you really wanted to go that route. You have Orpheus rigs that are really, really strong too. Gerfalcons is absolutely nuts. I might move Void Hunter into the S plus tier. It's behind Warlock, but I think these two subclasses currently stand out so far above the other subclasses in You like, just because you can take them literally everywhere in the game and they will excel. Add S++ for well? Dude, I thought about it, honestly. All right, perfect. This is where I had it. I had it on the low side of S tier. It is an unbelievably strong class with the overshield buff. They gave the, first of all, they gave the overshields a buff. They offer additional damage resistance now when you have an overshield. The Rally Barricade has a 38-second base cooldown, not including Heart of Inmost Light or Tier 10 Resilience. Like, the overshields you get save your ass so much. Ward of Dawn is still, like, obviously it's not as powerful as it was in a team setting as before. One of the best solo classes in the game. In the hands of someone that knows what they're doing, it is unbelievably strong. It was much better pre-Hoyle nerf and elemental well changes. I still think it's a really strong subclass, but it's probably like a low S subclass is where I think it'll end up. All right, let's do a Warlock subclass. Chat. Shadebinder. The only S tier class. S+. Literal back of C. Bottom C. Here's the thing with Shadebinder. Good subclass, but with the addition of Strand is just instantly nullified. Strand is Stasis, the power creep edition. Freeze in every way is worse than Suspend. You can damage enemies and shatter freeze, which then impacts their AI behavior, and they can then begin shooting back at you, right? Strand with Suspend, you can damage a suspended target as much as you want, and they don't move. They can't fight back. They're completely taken out of the fight. With that said, I think it's above Behemoth. Shadebinder is still a low B subclass. I don't think it's C. I don't think that's fair. I think it's a low B subclass. Based on the arguments I just made, I can't put Rev above any Strand subclass. I personally think Rev is better than Shadebinder. That might be Hunter bias in me, though, to be honest. Number one, the Dusk Field on Revenant is bigger than on any other subclass. So you have more AoE CC potential with a Dustfield Grenade, which is more of an instant freeze than a turret. 2, Shurikens are very strong low-key as a melee, and the melee on a Rev Hunter is far better than the Penumbral Blast. It's not even close. It can chain to multiple targets and freeze multiple targets at once. Also, Silence and Squall is by far the best super of the three, because it's instant freeze, it tracks enemies, and unlike when you're in Shadebinder, you can throw a Silence and Squall and clear alongside your super. Mods, can we do a poll for Rev versus Shadebinder? I'd be interested to see what the split is, because I see a lot of Revs and then I see a couple Shadebinders. 29-13 Revenant over Shadebinder. That's kind of surprising, to be honest. I did not think that many people would be on board. Rev is going above Broodweaver then. That is chat's official vote. 34-20. Revenant over Broodweaver. That's kind of nuts. That's kind of nuts. All right. Chat. All right, so moving on to hammers. So on a real note, we have Arc Warlock. I'll be real. I think Arc Warlock's pretty poopy. We have Well on one end of the spectrum and Stormcaller on the other. All good. Warlock got both the best and the worst subclass in the game. That's true. Not a single person that I could see arguing it. That's too funny, bro. All right, chat. Titan Hammers. What are we saying? A and a lot of S's. High A and a lot of S tiers classes. Here's the thing that's insane about hammers. First of all, there are literally like dozens of exotics you can use that are insanely good with the subclass, and they all work, which I don't think you can say for that many subclasses, to be fair. You can use Heart of Inmost Light. It does really well. You can use Synthos. It does really well. You could use Worm Gods with it for a while. It does really well. You can use Path of the Burning Steps. You can use Phoenix Cradles. Like, there's so many things that you can use with the subclass that make it really good. You can use Loreley Splendor. The throwing hammer is easily one of the most busted abilities in the game. It's insanely strong. I think it's S, and dude, I don't know, chat. Do you guys think it goes above Gathering Storm Arc Hunter? Everybody is saying top of S, 29 to 8. This is probably Hunter bias top. This definitely is. Dude, I don't know, man. I would put it there, to be honest. I think it's above Arc Hunter. One of the craziest damage supers in the game, and it's just a bonus to what the subclass does. Silk Strike is insanely overpowered. It is such a good super. This ability is one of the most overpowered abilities in the entire game, and they get 2 of them for free. You then also get a dive to also suspend, and if you pair it with 6 Coyote, you get 4 versions of suspend, and by the time one of them by the time they've been used up, you have your dodge back and you can suspend again. In terms of GMs, this is the best control Strand subclass by far. Like, by far. Dude, this one's tough to place, to be honest. It's a very polarizing subclass because A, this is one of the subclasses that was hit by far the hardest by the elemental well nerf. Hoyle also carried this subclass incredibly hard and has been nerfed by 50%. With that said, it is still an essential subclass for a lot of Titans in raid settings. It's still very good generally in the game. It's still very good. The regen is still solid, especially with pulse nades, right? Having played it both seasons, it feels significantly weaker than it did before. Obviously, Thunder Crash is nuts. That said, without Curus, it's not that nuts. It's still good, but it loses a massive percentage of the damage. It's a very polarizing subclass because it's very good at what it does, which is the crash. Arc Titan should be high A. You think Arc Titan should be there? I don't know. It's used so much, though. That's the thing. All right, chat. We're going to move on from this one. I know this is like a mixed opinion one, and it was close in the poll. It was the closest poll yet. That's my opinion at the moment. Dude, this is such a tough one. The main issue with Voidwalker at the moment is the super is not very strong. Nova Bomb, probably one of the weakest supers in the game. Definitely needs a damage buff. Also, shouldn't be able to be shot out of the air by enemies. I think that's such bullshit that can happen. Feed the Void, granting Devour, Chaos Accelerant, where you can overcharge your Void nades, makes them actual nuclear warheads. Melee Final Blows, start health regen, lingering Void effect. I mean, dude, like, weaken, perma weaken, essentially. I probably need to go rework some of the fragments, to be honest. You proc Devour. By the time your Devour timer is even relatively low, you have another nuclear warhead in your back pocket. Then you have Nez Sin, which just allows you to cycle your... Like, it's insane. Like, especially this season, Nez Sin with, like, Funnel Web and Volatile Flow, crazy busted. Dude, oh my god. I would argue it's S tier, to be honest. Despite the super being... The subclass is insane. All right, I'm pretty happy with how the tier list turned out. I think one key takeaway is that with the right build, you can go into endgame content with a massive variety of subclasses and find success depending on your playstyle. The S tier through B tier is extremely stacked, and there are a lot of very potent subclasses that you guys can use no matter your playstyle, which I think is a really cool spot for the sandbox to be in. Obviously, there's a couple outliers, but overall, I think it's looking really strong. Also want to give a special shout out to my Twitch chat. We had over 300 people involved in the discussion on the live stream, so if you guys want to get involved in conversations like this in the future, drop on by the Twitch over at twitch.tv/above, where we have these types of discussions all the time, whether it's surrounding builds, PVE subclass tier lists, or just getting involved in an amazing community. I highly recommend you guys swing on by the stream. If you guys feel strongly that we missed on a subclass, definitely feel free to let me know down in the comments with some civil discussion points as to why you think something should be rated higher or lower. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Drop a like and subscription if you did, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace!